try and bring that back around as well. I just wanted to mention first, been talking about the media rights, Pac-12 negotiations, ESPN and all of that, but I don't know if you guys noticed, those layoffs are going on right now up in Bristol. And Nate Silver might be a name familiar to a lot of people out there, 538 and a number of things, but big numbers guy, and he is apparently one of those ousted today amongst the many thousands of jobs that are apparently being cut. The 538 blog, for those who are fans of that, doesn't make much difference to me, but it obviously has an audience. That will continue to go on according to ESPN. But they said back in February that they were ESPN and their parent company, Walt Disney, were going to be cutting about 7,000 jobs and over $5 billion in costs. And there's talk that they could lose up to 100 executives and staffers this week, and that this won't be the last round of cuts. There was layoffs in March. ESPN wasn't affected by that, but this week there's obviously some effect going on, and there's now the potential that they will also be hit with another wave of cuts coming up early in the summertime, and that could be where you see some of the more on-air familiar faces rather than like the 25-year secretary to the guy, like you're seeing some of those, and all due respect, I hate to see anybody lose their job, but as far as like, well-known, I guess Nate Silver's pretty well-known to people. Yeah. But there is a list of people who are like absolutely under no consideration. Stephen A. Smith, Scott Van Pelt, Greenberg.
Fowler just re-signed.
Fowler, Woj, Mina Kimes is a free agent to be. She's somebody to watch out if you're a sports media person, but she's thought to, if she re-signs with ESPN, be untouchable as well. And there's a few others as well. Doris Burke, Adam Schefter, that will all be A-OK when all is said and done. But just mention this because the ESPN layoffs are underway. We know some people up there. Hope that they make out okay on the other side of it. And it's just interesting to kind of see that going on and how big of a story that otherwise, like, I don't know that would ever fall on our radar whatsoever, but because of media rights and because of negotiations and all those things, especially as it pertains to the Pac-12, it is something to monitor when the big worldwide leader is suddenly cutting billions of dollars and thousands of jobs. So that is underway, and again, another wave expected early in the summer.
Well, there was one guy that had been there from day one, 99% of all the time, Mike Stiros or something like that. His director of communications or someone like that, and a lot of people were furious about that because I don't know if anyone knows more about ESPN than he does who's ever worked there or is there now.
I hope for all their sakes, especially the ones like him, get the golden parachute from ESPN and from Disney, which you'd hope. They've got money to do that. I mean, the layoffs, though, like the rights fees are going up. Streaming is not profitable yet. Streaming right now it's not sunk cost, but they're in the we're investing phase, and they're trying to figure out what works and doesn't. So there's a lot of things coming and going. Like we've already seen all the stuff that was like, hey, I have an idea for a show, just go make it. That's been scaled way back.
Yeah.
There might be a writer's strike coming up next week, which is going to affect a lot of different things when it comes out. I don't think that'll happen at least at the level it happened the last time it did, because that cost everybody money in the long run. So we'll see what happens with all of that down the line. But, to tie it back into what we talk about all the time, it's not good news if you're negotiating a deal right now.
Exactly why I mentioned it, because
it's just not. Because if your companies are trying to save money, they're not going to be particularly in the frame of mind to say, okay, we'll give you a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, and that's the reason why I bring it up as much as anything. Certainly, don't view it like a transactions wire, these jobs, but there might be some notable names, and if a big on-air talent were to be let go, then that's something we'd probably mention in a segment like this. But I mentioned it as much just simply because they are clearly cutting some costs, and they are cutting some people that have been around for 20-plus years. In the case of the guy you mentioned, Mike Soltis, 43 years with ESPN, which is just crazy to now see that come to a close. So, yeah, it's something to keep in mind. And let's all remember that it's not like the Pac-12 or even college sports rights for that matter, even though the Pac-12 is really the only one dealing with that right now. But that's not the main focus of the sports industry when it comes to rights. Hate to break it to you. That is not even close. The NBA and what they're about to launch into and what kind of an audience they could attract and their suitors from ESPN to Turner to Amazon to Apple to NBC, at, all points in between, that is going to be some kind of a negotiation to watch between the NBA and all of those platforms, and to see what kind of a deal they get, because it will be something else. So I hate that for the people involved, but it is a sign of what's going on in the industry right now, and does not bode well if you're not someone like the NBA and you're currently having to deal with some of these negotiations. So moving on to a couple of